I'm going to read a poem of 6 lines by a hero of mine. He's a visionary. His name is Cameron Penny, and he is in the 4th grade. He is. He's amazing. He's in the 4th grade in a Michigan school. Cameron Penny wrote this. He said, "If you are lucky in this life, a window will appear on a battlefield between 2 armies. And when the soldiers look into the window, they don't see their enemies. They see themselves as children. And they stop fighting and go home and go to sleep. When they wake up, the land is well again."
This poem was originally entitled "A Nursery Rhyme George W. Bush Could Read on His Own." Closer reading, we found out some of the words were still too big. If war was not an option, please, New York City, let me hear you. If war was not an option, I would leave no children dead. Instead of bombs, I would learn to use my head. If war was not an option, I would plant flowers, not mines, in the Iraqi soil. And I would use solar energy instead of crude oil. If war was not an option, I would stop dreaming of gasoline. I would become a grown-up and no longer so mean. If war was not an option, I would no longer threaten voices of dissent. In fact, I would actually find questions quite pleasant. If war was not an option, I would extend my hand in sincere friendship and call home our people on the battleships. If war was not an option, I would no longer fear anyone ever finding out it was the U.S. that gifted Saddam all his evil clout. If war was not an option. Come on, y'all, let me hear you. If war was not an option, I would spend money on education and health care and promise all Americans they would be treated fair. One more time. If war was not an option, America would become a respected and well-loved nation. Now all I have to do is use my imagination.
Umreda is a character that I've created who is based on a woman that actually lives lives next to the Amaria bomb shelter. There's Amaria bomb shelter was bombed in 1991 during the first Gulf War, and there's a woman there who lost all of her family in that bombing. But her way of dealing with that was to set up a trailer and live outside and take people through as a tour. And this character is loosely based. It's based on circumstances from her life, and I had met her when I was there in 1991 and took the tour of the shelter.
I am hard to understand why I survive and my children did. I ask Allah why you make me alive. That night it's all people died, 403 people. There's nothing we can do, they are dead. This is Amaria bomb shelter. Here they write their name in chalk over the smoke figure. Here, on the ceiling, you see it, a child handprint, footprint from people who lay in the top bunk. Here, it's a silhouette of a woman. She is vaporized from the heat. This huge room, it's become like an oven, and they press to the wall to escape from the flame. La, I don't want to show you there. It's too much. Walls, they are stuck with hair and skin. Come. I take you to the roof. You can see how the hole it was made. 2 bombs from US airplane. They come to this point of the roof. The first bomb, it's a drilling bomb. Second bomb, it come inside exactly same spot. It explode in fire. US said they thought it's communication center for military, but people here no, think they wanted to kill as many people as possible. Now look around the hole. Wild dreams they are growing. Life to choose to root here in this grave of Iraqi people. All it's my family, it's here. Ghada. It's here. So I am Ghada, mother of tomorrow. I take my full name back when I see it smile again. Then I know my daughter and son, they are alive again.
I think poetry is a really public voice when you get right down to it. And although the poem is made in private, there's a public aspect. It's almost impossible to write a poem that has no political implications.
Where is that voice from nowhere? That burning bush, that passing dove? For I hear voices of generals calling for ammunition, presidents calling for arms, and women calling for help.
And it was almost as though the whole country was waiting for the right march, the right moment, the right speech to stand up and say, wait a minute, we don't want to be accountable for 600 or 700,000 civilian deaths or 1 million.
Where is that voice from nowhere, that God of Abraham? Can he be heard over the gunfire, the whiz of passing missiles, the crash of buildings, the cries of children, the crack of bones, the shriek of sirens? Or is that his mighty voice, your angry God craving the sacrifice of virgin generation, sons degenerate, your holy books written in red ink on burning sands, your prayers between rounds do no more than fasten the fate of your children to the hammered truth of your trigger,